All right, today we're going to talk about something that's really shaken up the world of cloud computing, AWS Lambda. Seriously, this thing completely flips the script on how we think about building and running our apps.
But first, let me ask you something. What if you could write and run your code without ever having to think about a server? Like at all? What would you do with that power? Just keep that question in the back of your mind because it is the entire idea behind everything we're about to get into.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with what Lambda actually is, then we'll look at how it works under the hood. After that, we'll check out some real-world examples, get into the nitty-gritty of pricing, and finally, we'll talk about the trade-offs, because, nothing's perfect.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1. What in the world is AWS Lambda? And what's all this buzz about a serverless revolution? Okay, so the official definition is, it's a serverless, event-driven compute service. Now that's a mouthful, so let's unpack it. Serverless doesn't mean no servers, it just means you don't have to deal with them. And event-driven? That just means your code only wakes up and runs when something specific happens, an event, like a user uploading a file. It's basically computing on demand. So what does this actually mean for you? Well, Lambda takes care of all the messy stuff. It finds the computer power your code needs, it runs your code the instant it's needed, it can automatically scale from 0 requests to thousands, even millions, without you lifting a finger. And here's the kicker. You only get charged for the split seconds your code is actually running. If it's not running, you're not paying. Period. This brings us to the #1 question people have. Serverless? How can that be? The servers didn't just disappear, right? And you're right, they didn't. They still exist. The difference is, they are now completely managed by AWS. You never see them, you never patch them, you never even think about them. They become Amazon's problem, not yours. And that lets you just focus on what you do best, writing great code.
Okay, that all sounds amazing in theory, right? But how does it actually work in practice? Let's follow the journey of a little piece of code and see how it comes to life.
Believe it or not, it's a super simple 4-step process. 1, you write your code, your function, in a language you already know like Python or JavaScript. 2, you just upload that code to Lambda. 3, you tell it what trigger to listen for, what event should make it run. And that's it. You're done. Step 4 is all on AWS. They handle all the running and the scaling automatically whenever your trigger fires.
So what kind of triggers are we talking about here? Pretty much anything you can think of in the cloud. It could be an API request from your website, someone dropping a new photo into an S3 bucket, a record changing in your database, or even just a timer going off, like run this job every hour. The possibilities are huge.
Okay, enough of the theory. This is where it gets really fun. What can you actually build with this stuff? Let's look at some real-world examples where Lambda is just an absolute rock star. Here's a perfect classic example. Automatically resizing images. So imagine a user uploads a big, high-res photo to your S3 storage bucket. That upload is the event. It instantly triggers a Lambda function. The function's code wakes up, grabs that new image, shrinks it down to a thumbnail size, and saves the new version to another folder. The whole thing is over in milliseconds, and there was no server just sitting around, burning money, waiting for that upload to happen. Or how about building an API backend? Just look at this little snippet of code. That's pretty much all it takes. This is a complete working backend. An API gateway sends it a request, this function runs, and it sends back a simple message. It just goes to show how incredibly fast you can spin up backends for your web or mobile apps. Lambda is also an absolute beast for automation. Think of all those little scheduled tasks you need to run. What we used to call cron jobs. Instead of having a whole server just to run a script every night, you can use Lambda. Use it for stuff like deleting temporary files every day, sending out hourly reminders, generating those nightly reports. You name it. It's so efficient. And all this efficiency and automation leads us to one of Lambda's biggest selling points, the way you pay for it. This isn't just a small change. It's a totally different way of thinking about the cost of computing. The pricing model is refreshingly simple. You pay for exactly 3 things. 1, the total number of times your function gets called. 2, how long your code runs, and they measure this in milliseconds. And 3, how much memory you give the function. That's it. And let me say it again, if your code isn't running, you pay nothing. 0, zilch.
And just to make it a no-brainer to get started, AWS gives you 1 million free requests every single month. Yeah, 1 million. What that means is for tons of smaller apps, side projects, and automation scripts, AWS Lambda is literally free. So let's just quickly recap. When is Lambda the absolute perfect choice? Well, it's great for when your traffic is all over the place, super spiky. It's fantastic when you want to build and ship things really, really fast. It's the dream if you just want to forget server maintenance even exists. And it's tailor-made for building microservices or little automation scripts. All right, but let's be real. No technology is the perfect solution for every single problem out there. So to give you the whole story, we've got to talk about the limitations and the trade-offs. This is super important for knowing when Lambda might not be the right tool for the job. There are a few key things to be aware of. First, a single Lambda execution can't run for more than 15 minutes, so no super long jobs. Second, sometimes the very first request to a function that's been sitting idle can be a tiny bit slower. We call this a cold start. There are also limits on memory, and tracking down bugs can sometimes be a bit trickier than on a regular server. These are basically the trade-offs you make for all that power and convenience. So to put it as simply as possible, Lambda is absolutely ideal for short, sharp, event-driven tasks. Think processing a new user sign-up the moment it happens. It is not ideal for long-running, heavy-duty jobs, like, say, training a machine learning model for hours and hours on end. It's all about using the right tool for the right job. So we end up right back where we started with that same question, but now it's more of a challenge. By taking servers out of the equation, AWS Lambda gives developers the freedom to just create, to focus purely on the code and the idea. So the real question now is, what will you build?